Hello there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later because we've got a big blue dinosaur to talk about today, thanks to the lovely folks at transforverse.eu, but more on them later too. For now I want to talk about this robot mode because it is undeniably gorgeous. Now I'm quite a fan of this toy, I don't think it's perfect by any stretch, but I have to say I think this blue version absolutely tips it over the edge versus the original grey, right? It just looks terrific, and I say that as a big Generation 2 fan myself, but come on, just look at it. I've always thought the head sculpt on this mold is pretty terrific. I mean, it's quintessentially Grimlock, looks really handsome, love the red visor going on there. It's just brilliant stuff. Nice bit of shiny gold paint going on the chest, that catches the light really beautifully. Still slightly perplexed by this see-through bit here, if only because it's quite dark and you can't really make out the Autobot logo there, but it's not as dark as the original, I will say that. That was really dark, and so this is better, but still, strange choice. Like, don't get me wrong, and no need to at me, I know what they were going for with this. Like, it is sort of a bit of a homage to the original, but I'm not quite sure it works. Anyway, you got a tiny little bit of extra colour here on the bicep that wasn't on the grey original, and you got some popping red and green going on here on the legs as well. I do think the colour combo here is really good. Love the saturated blue as well, so nice. It's a small grumble, but this red plastic that they've used for the hip and crotch area isn't quite doing it for me. Like, it's not quite as vibrant as the G1 version, weirdly, and then the pins here, particularly on this one, there's just a little bit of kind of plastic flash kind of covering up that pin so it doesn't look symmetrical, so I really hate when that happens. What is quite cool is that you've got this kind of gold Autobot tempo just here, complete with the Generation 2 logo, exactly as you would have found on the 1990s toys, so props to them for that. Overall though, I've got to say, this is a very attractive robot mode, and again, I think it stands head and shoulders over the grey equivalent. Something about this new colour scheme just shows it off to its best. There's just a very palpable sense of aura to this thing, right? Like, it absolutely gives those vibes. It's just great to look at. I love messing with it. I'm big into it, man. What can I say? Articulation's really good as well, considering how large he is. I mean, the head will look very freely from side to side and can look up a little bit and down as well for kind of aura farming or whatever you want to do. Nice clicky ratchets on the shoulders. That's all good, and they feel really solid, and it will go up to 90 degrees as well. You've then got a bicep rotation, and although the shoulders will lock into a straight position, they will unclick and then kind of bend well over 90 degrees. And then you get a wrist swivel as well. Do wish they'd covered up these sections, actually. That always irks me a bit on this mold. You also get a very decent waist swivel going on there. Lots of movement at the hips as well. You get just over 90 degrees there, including a bit of thigh rotation, and nice clicky ratchets in the knees also, to about a 90 degree bend there too. And there is an ankle tilt, which is really good, and you can move the heels if you want. That's a thing. Likewise, I really like how you've got options with these wings as well. You can kind of position them down, sort of more out the way. You can raise them up. You can fold them back if you want. I mean, you do you. There are options. And really, the overall point is that he's quite poseable. I mean, it's a large figure, but he's surprisingly spry. You know, you can kind of get him into all kinds of poses, fairly stable and solid as well, so he's really a lot of fun to pick up and play with, I think. Where it does fall slightly short for me is in the accessories department, because you get the one gun, just the one gun, and it's a very nice gun, like a really nice gun actually, but that is it. No sword or anything like that, which is a real shame, because you think Dinobot, you think sword. What is kind of annoying is that they did make a sword for this mold, which for the original version was included with Studio Series 86 Swoop, so they could have thrown that in here, but I guess inevitably they're going to do the Generation 2 Swoop as well, so I'm guessing it'll come with that, but this would have been a good opportunity to maybe correct that, I think, instead of sticking to the existing pattern, you know? I tell a lie, there is actually another accessory, and it's this guy. It's Wheelie, and I honestly always forget about it, just because it's a real live in a drawer or stay in the box type thing for me. I mean, there's not a lot to say about this thing beyond how generally pants it is. I mean, if you've never seen this thing before, the whole idea is that it fits onto Grimlock's Dino mode, right? Like a little accessory, but it does mean that these legs are perpetually stuck like that. I mean, he really could not stop a pig in an alleyway for starters, but he's genuinely just kind of sat in this permanent squatting pose. It's really strange. I mean, this was enough to inspire some creative minds to get out there and create an unofficial toilet for him to sit on, you know? Even beyond that, I mean, the other arms are kind of stuck in place as well. This one's permanently bent, that one permanently outstretched like he's firing the catapult. You can move the head and the waist a little bit, so that's something, but It's a nice idea. I don't know if this was it. That said, I do have to give them some props here because the head design's really good. The overall look of it is fine, actually, and the color scheme in this case is actually a pretty cool reference. You see, it's all related to this Marvel book from 1986 called The Story of Wheelie, the Wild Boy of Quintesson, and in there he has this sort of blue color scheme on his chest, like he's wearing a little sleeveless blue top, and that was probably modeled after the original prototype colors for the classic Wheelie toy. So the fact that they've referenced all of that here, despite the fact that this thing is kind of inherently rubbish, is sort of quite cool. I kind of want to like it even though I don't. Do you know what I mean? I mean, look, if nothing else, this is the only version of the Grimlock mold that comes with the wheelie outside of the original, so you got to give them some props for that. And I do think it's a really cool repaint idea. It's just the inherent figure is what it is, I guess, you know, but I now have two of them, so lucky me. And hey, if nothing else, it does follow the tradition of Wheelie always having the worst possible toy in every single line, right? And again, I cannot get over how much nicer I think the blue version is overall. Like, I like the grey version, but it always kind of looked a little bit drab to me. I don't know, just something about that much grey plastic and kind of fairly dull grey as well, whereas the blue just pops. It looks really, really electric by comparison, so night and day for me. I gotta say, this is so nice that I'm probably gonna forego the idea of getting all of the Studio Series 86 G1 Dinobots and just get the G2 set. That said, you talk about G2 makeovers and blinging colour and all of that kind of stuff, and you gotta talk about the Tiger Stripe version, because this is just gorgeous. I absolutely love how it looks, so I really like the blue one. It may still be a close second by my estimation, because the yellow one, it's too good. Of course, it's also interesting to see this new version versus the G2 Blue original, and I always thought these G2 Dinobots were just so cool, such wacky colour schemes, really kind of reinvented the original toys, and it's great to see it referenced here. It doesn't have quite the same pop of all the various stickers and things like this. There's an allusion to that on those biceps as we looked at, but it is lacking some of that detail, but I think they got it there or thereabouts. You know, the general feel of it is there. The blue is certainly spot on, and it just looks great. It's really cool that they did it. For completeness sake here, I do feel the need to mention that actually Grimlock was released in 3 different colour schemes in Generation 2 back in the 90s. Like, it wasn't just the blue version, although that was the most common. He also had a grey version, which was basically the same as Generation 1, just with one of the G2 tampos, and he had the rarer turquoise version as well, which is quite desirable these days. I do kind of wonder if we'll see the Studio Series mold in the turquoise colour scheme, but I kind of doubt it, to be honest. It's probably not that different enough, is it? Anyway, before we talk transformation, I do want to mention that this review is brought to you by Transforverse.eu, who are a European Transformers site specialising in Transformers, so if you live in Europe, they're absolutely well worth checking out. They've got tons of stuff in stock and available for pre-order right now, including limited quantities of the Age of the Primes G2 Grimlock, and they've got low-cost, good-quality shipping options as well. So again, if you live in Europe, go and give them a look. There's a link in the description below, and if you use it, you may even find that you get the occasional discount as well. So what's not to like about that? Go and give them a look. It's Transforverse.eu. So to transform this guy, the first thing you want to do is make sure those elbows are locked into place, and then just fold the hands in until they click, and then move down to the feet and just start flipping those heels over into place. Next, you want to fold these tail sections over, and then take the grey tail piece and just fold that out. That means that you can then detach the legs at the knees and flip that whole thing around onto the back. Same on this side, you just want to flip that all the way around, kind of click it into place, and then you can start to line everything up and get it all tabbed together in the middle. On the reverse, you can then flip those tail half sections over and start clicking those together as well, before taking that entire gold chest section, untabbing it, and just folding it down and bringing it into place. That allows you to fold the head away before bringing in those wing sections, just folding them all the way into the middle as well, and then closing them up. And then of course you can flip the head over and click that into place. And I've got to tell you, if I thought that this mold wore the blue better than the grey in robot mode, that is only magnified in this mode, right? Because this Dino mode was one that I was never quite convinced about on the original toy, and if anything, I don't know what it is, but it's taken till this blue redeco for me to really see the appeal. I'm not really sure why that is, because fundamentally it is the same toy, just in a different colour scheme, but it sort of hides all the little imperfections and quibbles that I had about it, if anything, and I don't know, it just looks so good. I'm just really impressed with what a difference this new colour scheme makes. I think one of the most obvious things is that I was never truly sold on these feet just here. It always felt quite bulky at the back, and something about the blue just hides it a bit better. I don't know. I mean, if you go looking for it, I do think there are lots of little imperfections, like these little cracks, I want to call them, the little gaps in the body around here and here and here. That all to me is just a little bit rough and ready, you know, I've always thought so. And I know people love this mold, but I've just always had those kind of critiques about it, you know? Likewise, I was never really convinced about this tail. I don't know, it looks more like something that you might serve fish with than that you might find at the end of a T-Rex. But honestly, you know, a lot of that is kind of forgiven here. Again, the blue just works wonders, and I have always loved the kind of classic 80s lumbering silhouette that this thing has got going on, right? Like, I know it's not a modern T-Rex by any standards, but I love that they've kind of adhered to that. And again, the blue just brings it all together for me. Likewise, there's never been any doubt about this head sculpt, right? Like, very handsome, looks fantastic. That is spot on Grimlock. It's got an opening jaw as well, which is super cool. I mean, you would kind of expect to see that, but in this case, love the little red eyes. Just wonderful. I always thought it was a bit of a shame that this side, though, had the very obvious screws. I get that they've got to go somewhere, but it's so prominent, I don't know, it does kind of detract a little bit. Love this circuit detailing going on in the neck just there as well though, right? Like, that was opaque on the original version, and it always struck me as like a real shame that the plastic here, that you couldn't see through it and get all of that mechanical detail. There was an upgrade kit that kind of did that, but it's nice that they've included that here. And this kind of, I don't know, this kind of caramel color on the translucent plastic, that's just gorgeous. Really nice red paint along there as well, that looks decently saturated, and again, just kind of brings out that nice molded detail. Again, you've got that G2 tempo, which I've just realized is on both sides actually, which is kind of strange because it was only on the one on the original figure, but hey, not to worry. And yeah, there is some articulation in areas such as the arms as well. They can be posed a little bit for what it's worth. Likewise, you've got plenty of movement in that neck and the head. Then of course, it's all about those legs, but this is quite clever because actually they can bend the other way to how the arms bend, because that's the arm bend just there, and then you've got a click the other way for the knees for the Dino mode. So I think that's pretty clever actually, nice bit of design. And you can move his little claws as well if you want. Mostly though, this mode doesn't need to do a lot of posing to be impressive, right? It just sits there and looks good, and it's just all blue, isn't it? I love it. Now, because weapon storage is a thing that modern Generations toys have to kind of work in, you can store his blaster on his back just there. It just kind of tabs in on the bottom of the feet. I don't know if that quite works for me, like it sort of sticks out a little bit, but it's an option. Likewise, you can put wheelie on him in this mode, and in order to do that, you want to tab him into these little pegs just there, so that just kind of attaches on like so. Fold the legs round. Once you get it just right, the legs are pretty secure actually, and then you can just kind of fold the top half into place and kind of position the hands to kind of vaguely look like he's holding on. And look, you know, for as rough as I was on this thing earlier, I gotta say, if you treat it purely as an accessory and not as a separate figure by itself, then actually this is quite good fun, right? Like, if all you ever do is tab it onto the Dino mode, it's fine. Like, it does its job quite nicely actually. And we understand I'm saying that through gritted teeth, right? Because it's still wheelie at the end of the day. But hey, you know, I like that they did that Wild Boy color scheme, and with the G2-ness of it all, yeah, it works, why not? Sadly though, my comparison with the Generation 1 version is a little bit sad, to say the least, because you know what? I ended up installing one of the upgrade kits that we talked about, and then my son had a go with it, and he broke it. What can I say? Like, hey ho, it's the way it goes sometimes. That clear plastic wasn't up to snuff, I guess, but I'm gonna reinstall the original parts and it'll all be good, but it's a job to be done. So there you go, headless Grimlock for comparison. How about we do a comparison with the frankly stunning Legacy Tiger Stripe version instead? And you know, 2 G2 Grimlocks, we may never see the original mold in that Tiger Stripe deco after all, short of a missing link or whatever else, so this might be about as close as we ever come to this sort of comparison, and I, for one, am here for it. Really though, the ultimate comparison must be with the 1990s OG figure in blue, right? Like, and again, they just absolutely smashed this one in my opinion. The blue is spot on. Yes, it's lacking some of that sticker detailing, but I wouldn't have really expected that either. So overall, I couldn't be happier with this. I'm absolutely going to try and track down the other Studio Series dinos in their G2 versions as well, and kind of complete the gang in multi-colours, so couldn't be more thrilled with it. It's a very definite toot. Now, as already mentioned, this review is brought to you by Transforverse.eu, a European Transformers site who've got tons of robots in disguise stuff in stock and available for pre-order right now. So if you live in Europe, go and check out the link in the description below. You might get the occasional discount for doing so. Well worth your time. Go and give them a look. Transforverse.eu. I'd also be very grateful if you could leave me a like for this effort, please, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But otherwise, that's it from me. So have a great rest of your day, and TTFN.